All right, I'm joined by Luke Buotte from Maine Dump Runners. Luke, thanks for joining me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
So, want to have you on the podcast. We do some networking together. You always have the best stories about junk and experiences that you had in your business. So I'm like, we could have an awesome conversation around this. So I want you to tell me about Maine Dump Runners, when that started, why it started, and all that. Fill me in.
Yeah, sure. So, Maine Dump Runners started in 2020. I was working actually in healthcare for 15 years as a physical therapist assistant. And it was right around the time when COVID was going on and everything. I was super burnt out. A friend of mine thought of the idea. And I said, geez, let's give it a try. So, we started it very small, just kind of like on the weekends type of thing. And it was more just like a side gig. And I was juggling the two jobs. And then it's kind of like one of those, stories where I came home from one job and my son was like, Dad, I want to show you something. I want to show you something. And I looked him right in the eyes and I said, I don't have time for you. And I drove off and my heart sank. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is horrible. And so that's when I realized, hey, I gotta just stick to one job. I can't be doing two. And
Mhm.
so that's when I decided to put my notice in at that safe job I've had for 15 years and
I
start.
imagine you went to college for that, right? Like,
Yeah, I went
you
to
don't.
college for it and was licensed
Yeah.
in a couple states and everything. Yeah, I just dove in, and it's been awesome. And since then, I've just, 100% geared towards, the main dump runner business and family life, and it's been great.
Well, trash and junk removal is not going anywhere.
That's the
So it
thing.
just
Yeah.
seems like a smart business to get into. And there's, you obviously have some competitors and other people do it, but it just seems like a service that will never not be needed. There's always going to be junk to get rid of. And as people
100%.
age and, have stuff in their houses, it seems like a smart move. So why junk and trash removal though? Like you said, your buddy suggested it, but did you see like there's an opportunity? Did they know someone that had a business like this, but why this and not something else?
Yeah, I would 100% give all the credit to him. He's the one who kind of called me one day and said, hey, geez, I've been thinking about this. And I'm like, wow, that's a great idea. And I like it because it's a physical job.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also very much a sales job. You have to sell each job when someone calls because at the end of the day, anybody can, pick something up and put it in a truck. So there is going to be a lot of competition out there, but it's how you brand yourself and get a good reputation in the community that kind of sets you aside. So that's the part I like. I like the physical part and I love the sales part of it.
You got a kind of a workout every day, I imagine, just carrying stuff up and down steps and unloading it. That's probably nice to keep you in shape a little bit,
100%.
especially when you're in the world of physical therapy before. Like, obviously, you're in physical therapy because you must have been an active person growing up, playing sports and all that stuff. And then,
Yeah. It's
um,
funny. I'll still, if we're cleaning out like an elderly folks home, I'll still give them a couple pointers about fixing a couple things on their house so they don't trip and break a hip. It's still in my brain, so I gotta throw it out there.
isn't that funny? So, what are all the services that you provide? Junk removal
So
is very straightforward, but like, what does that include?
yeah, it would be like anything like a single item, like furniture, like if someone got a new couch and they needed the old one hauled away. Same thing with appliances. We'll throw away used appliances, couches, single items. We'll do a small pile if someone maybe doesn't have a pickup truck and they don't know someone with a truck. If they had a pickup truck size load of junk they needed hauled away, we have pricing for just a small pile like that. And then we'll go all the way to like a whole estate clean out or apartment clean out with an eviction. Someone's selling a house that they've owned for 30 years and they have 3 stories of, miscellaneous junk. Same thing. We'll take care of all that. So,
And what's
all
that look
the,
like? Dump trucks, multiple dump trucks, or is it always
yeah.
trailers, or is it dumpsters?
Uh,
How's that
yeah,
work?
it's probably a little bit of both, and kind of like what sets us apart from other companies is my big motto is that we run 15-yard dump trailers, and so the
Mhm.
we what we try to do is we match the same price as a few different roll-off dumpster companies that are in the area. So what we do is we match the same price as those roll-off companies, and the customer will get 2 hours of service with us, and we're fully insured to go in the house and remove things.
All right, if you've been enjoying the podcast, I wanted to let you know that I am a residential loan officer with CMG Home Loans. If you or anyone you know is looking to buy a home or refinance, please let me know and I'd be happy to help. My contact information is in the description below. Back to the podcast.
They'll get 2 hours of service for the same price as just a regular roll off if we fill it. And if we don't fill the dumpster, we only charge for the space we put in there. So if it's only half full, it's half off essentially. So it's kind of a win-win with those
Yeah,
cleanouts. They only get charged for the amount we put in there, and it's essentially free labor.
yeah. So your competitors do not offer the actual filling of the dumpster. That's very unique to Maine Dump Runners.
Yeah, like the roll-off companies typically will drop it and then the customer will load it. Oh, that's 2 pickup truck loads or whatever. We just
Yeah.
pack it in there as tight as we can, and if it's only a half of a dumpster, then we're just charging for half a dumpster.
Is that pretty rare too? Like a roll-off dumpster company, just they're charging for their dumpster, and it's up to you to fill it however much you can, but you're paying for the full thing. You've had some pretty crazy stories. It sounds like what's the craziest story that you can think of, or what's the one that comes to mind?
Yeah, I've told this one before, and so I'll probably keep it PG. I think the craziest one would be it was a hoarding situation where there was these really high ceilings in this particular place. The food garbage was anywhere from 6 to 8 feet high, and we had to wear full tie suit. Yeah, full of
Food
garbage. So we had to
What
push.
is? Oh my god!
Yeah, it was a lot of like fast food containers, and there was food and stuff, and it was wild. So we ended up, we had to push the door open, and I had to climb over the garbage to the very back. I took just those regular like brute trash barrels that contractors have, and I cut the bottom of it off rather, and I slipped trash bags over it so I would shovel the trash can, but then I would lift the trash can up and all the garbage would fall in. It just made the bag sturdy per se.
Yeah.
And we just did like hundreds of bags and then throw them out the window to the dump trailer, onto the next one, onto the next one. It was wild. And then there was, as the layers of trash went down, other things that were under there started to arise and freak us out, which are always fun. So
yeah. That must be eye-opening. It's like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah,
You feel bad, obviously, for people living that way. It's probably kind of like a mental illness scenario to even be able to survive in that type of environment.
Yeah.
But why were you cleaning it? Not because they wanted it clean. Did someone pass away? Was there an eviction scenario?
I don't know how. Essentially, they were forced to clean it. One of those deals,
Yeah.
like through, because it wasn't safe type of thing. So yeah, we went
Do you
in.
see Do you see a lot of situations like this? Is the worst one, but is this stuff like this? Maybe smaller versions pretty common.
I think the big thing is like you see it on TV all the time, the show hoarders and things like that. I find those ones interesting, and I love the before and after. Like if you walked into that place when we were done, it was great. But out of respect, I didn't post any pictures or take any videos and put them online because I'm sure that they wouldn't be impressed with that. But yeah, like I think part of that is where I think there is like a mental component to that, and I don't think the person that is hoarding would hire me essentially because they've let it go so long. Why would they take care of it now? So it's the only time I've gotten hired for that is if someone's forced to clean it out type of thing.
Landlord scenario. I mean, you've done some cleanings for me, and not to that extent. At least I hope
No, yours are easy
compared to that. But it is always cool to see the beginning and after, or before and after pictures to see the progress that's made. Like, dude, the stuff some people have and the way it looks after is freaking incredible. Yeah, it makes me wonder what it looks like now. It's like, dude, it's probably just freaking like it was before, that job that you're talking about. Do you guys deal with like biohazard stuff? Like dead bodies, if someone like
people ask
not like
No, I don't know. Like somebody has to do it, but it's not our company, so I don't know who does that and where they bring that type of stuff. We don't do any of that stuff. We don't do like bed bugs and cockroaches and things of that nature. We'll definitely do the nasty hoarding situations, rats running around, like all that type of stuff doesn't bother me. But the reason we don't do the bed bugs and the cockroaches is because if that gets into one of our containers or our trucks and then goes to another customer's house, then it's just this whirlwind of a disaster. So we don't want that liability, so we don't do it. But we don't just leave the customer hanging. If someone calls me and asks me about that, I have an owner of a company pretty much on speed dial, and I just pass that name to them, and they take care of it because they kind of...
It's probably a pretty specialized service.
Yeah,
like
they have one crew that does all that. Yeah.
And it's probably like very clean and a certain way of doing things to minimize that sort of stuff. Sure. And yeah, you're just not doing general junk jobs where you're going from house to house, and where there's probably less likely for there to be transmission of bed bugs from one property to another just because of the way they do things. But that makes sense. You've had rat scenarios?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, running around. Yeah, that hoarding one. That's what, as we were shoveling, then they started appearing and running and carrying a couch down the stairs. And my wife and I, it's a family business. She's carrying the couch, and one rat jumps out of the couch. It was pretty wild. I got her too. There was a stuffed animal in the bottom of one of the piles, and it looked like a squirrel. And I picked it up and I threw it at her and said, "Oh, rat!" And I almost slept in the shit. She wasn't impressed.
But like the more you do this stuff, the more you're going to see stuff like that in time. But a lot of times, like stuff for me, it's like I have a chair I need someone to get rid of, or I need like like you said, a large item. So that's probably most of the jobs, you know.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that. But yeah, the stuff that I've had cleaned up, it's probably just like the single items, the smaller, the smaller truckloads, something like that. So as far as cool things that you've happened, I know you've told me some stories before, but like, have you found some kind of treasures in these places that you cleaned out, or stuff that like you decided to keep or try to sell or anything like that?
Yeah. Yeah, one same thing. I was thought about posting it online, and I'm just not much of a poster. Like I'll post like just regular things, but the coolest story I have is I found over $10,000 cash in a basement. My hands were shaking. I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is wild!" And my brain's like, "Ah, 10 grand." I gave it back to the homeowner. This is the right thing to do. I don't have 10 grand in my basement, but if I did, and my plumber found it, and I would hope he gave it back to me. That's probably the most wild thing. I always dreamed about finding money, and then
Did they have any clue that money was down there? Were they even like, "Oh yeah, that was my freaking grandmother's money," or so? Did you get any more context as to what was going on?
It was kind of a cool. So I guess they had been looking for it because it was like a house that had been passed down, and they just considered it like it must have gotten lost and thrown away in one of their previous dump runs, like way back when or something. And yeah, so it was pretty wild. They were grateful for it naturally, but yeah, I always dreamed about finding it, but then when I found it, I just gave it back. So I don't know.
That stuff comes around, man. Like
Yeah,
that was the right
totally.
move. Like yeah, obviously give the money back and maybe get a tip, maybe don't get a tip, but like karma stuff definitely goes around when it comes to that. Do you find anything that has outside of actual cash, anything that has like value to it?
Yeah.
Like a freaking antique or something like that. Anything like that?
Yeah, oh yeah. I think another cool one that I was able to keep was we did this huge barn clean out for a family. Same idea, they inherited it, and all the siblings were slowly going through stuff, and they hired me to empty out. I think we did like 9 15-yard dumpsters out of there. I think we did, actually, that was our record. We did 7 in one day, which was pretty wild. 7 15-yard dumpsters in one day. And then as we got close to the end, there was like this 14-foot wooden boat. It was kind of like covered in a tarp full of, animal feces. Typical, just kind of gross looking. And they're like, "How much to get rid of that boat?" And I said, "Geez, you're giving me quite a bit of business already." I'm like, I'll just haul it for free. I'd love to have it. I'll fix it up, And I said, "Oh, that's great." So I waited till the job was completely done. We went back to hook onto it. Ended up being a 14-foot, I think a Penn Yan wooden boat. It was a 1959. And then it had, when I went to pick it up, they had the original red and white Johnson outboard motor to go with it. And then all the bill of sale from their father when he bought it. So he's the only owner. So it's so
That's
cool.
so cool.
So all the original paperwork and everything. Yeah.
So what did you do with that thing?
I flipped it.
Yeah.
I fixed it up, and then I found someone out. I think he was out in Lyman. He was all stoked. He has a couple of them, and he said, "I'm not going to resell it. I'm going to use it and cherish it." That's great. So,
But I don't think that's the worst thing ever. I mean, someone gave it to you. You did them a favor. Like they didn't want anything to do with it. Like,
oh yeah,
and you probably got some enjoyment by cleaning it up, fixing it up, and now someone else gets to use it. And I think it's like a win-win across the board. So it's kind of cool that people would just give you that stuff. And, not that there's going to be treasures like that all the time, but I don't think it's bad to keep something like that if there's value to it, or sell it, if there's more value that way too.
for sure. Yeah. Oh yeah, they knew I wasn't going to keep it either. I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to fix this thing up," and I always say, "Find it a new home."
Yeah.
They were just happy it didn't go to the dump type of thing. So
Yeah.
that was
Who are like the ideal referral type people for you, outside of like an actual person that's looking to have junk removal or house clean out or something? Is there like a golden goose type referral source for you?
So my number one golden goose would be anybody that's a realtor, because the thing is, like, people only have so much junk, and when they run out of junk, I run out of work type of things. Realtors, they're constantly dealing with new houses, new used houses that need to be cleaned out. It's just one after another. Once I get in with them, we get weekly jobs from them, and so I was trying to figure out a way, whether it be like a 10% kickback and send them, a little monetary thank you, or should I pass a 10% discount to their customer? And I talked to a couple folks, and I thought ethically, I think it's better for me to give the 10% to the customer, because that way the customers will just think, "Oh, they chose me because they're going to get a kickback," everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, we definitely do. Once I get in, and I just give like a 5-minute presentation to the real estate company. And then once we do that, if anybody they send my way, the customer gets 10% off the final bill as a thank you for referring them to me. So it's worked out well.
So
Yeah,
it's like,
so the pricing's like literally already, that's why people are like, you're crazy, but we get a lot of business, you know. We're the same as a dumpster. You get 2 hours of labor on a full load, and then if we don't fill it, we only charge for what we put in, so it's like half off. And then on top of that, you get 10% off. So it's just like, yeah, it's wild. But those jobs, what I love about them, they're year round. We can depend on those to keep things going. So
that's good, man. That's like a way to build a relationship, with different people. What's your main range, like geographic wise?
I try to stay, right now we only have 2 crews, 2 trucks. So we try to stay, we're based out of Old Orchard Beach, so we try to stay within 30 minutes around,
Yeah.
just not east, because I sold my boat. No, yeah. So we just gotta go.
You're also doing trash removal in Old Orchard, right? Like Saco and Old Orchard for short term rentals.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So that's a big one in the summer. It started with probably like 3 or 4 years ago, where a neighbor of mine at our Old Orchard property was like, geez, the tenants didn't take out the garbage. I don't know what to do. And can you haul it on Saturday before the new people come? And I thought, well, if I can get a big enough list, let's do it. And so I started pumping out those ads, and now we have quite a big list for Saturday pickups. And the theory behind it is a lot of those Airbnb, VRBO, private rentals, they try to get a 7-day window. So like Saturday check-in, Saturday check-out type of thing. And what happens is these people are paying quite a bit of money to stay at these beach properties. And the first thing they see when they drive in is a mound of garbage from the previous rental. Lobsters, maggots, nasty stuff. So our business, what we do is we start in the morning and we just have a route that goes all day long, and we make sure all the barrels are empty from the previous tenants before the new tenants get there on Saturday. And they just don't have to worry about it. And it's fairly inexpensive, and a lot of them will just roll it into their cleaning fee anyway. So they don't even see the charge.
So they don't even pay it as owners. Makes a ton of sense, man. Like, it almost makes so much sense. I'm surprised it didn't exist already, or does it exist? Are you still in business from someone else that already was doing this, or is this like something you created for like that Orchard Beach market?
Yeah, I don't think there was any. I'm sure someone probably, but not like us. I don't know of anybody else that did it. So it was just one of those things that I definitely did not like, oh, I want to do what they're doing. It all happened because a neighbor by my property in the Orchard was like, hey, I think you should do that. And that's kind of how it stemmed.
But it's not that. I mean, compared to a whole house cleanup, it probably takes some time to do your whole route, but it's not like you're running in and out of houses in basements. It's like the trash is probably someplace outside. It's just a matter of running by, dumping it, and onto the next property, right?
Yep. If you rented a beach house, you wouldn't want to. Some people don't even want to wheel it to the curb. You're on vacation. You just want to. You want to relax, have fun. Don't even think about trash. So they don't even have to do that. Like, we'll go into the garage if they give us the code, or if the trash is out back by the shed, we'll walk out back, wheel it to the truck, dump it, bring it back. So it's complete full service type of thing.
I know being eco-friendly is a big thing for you. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so I probably, without doing the math exact, I'd probably say at least 90% of all of our loads go to Maine, which is a trash to energy plant. So they go in and it gets incinerated and used for energy, and then it just comes out as a little bit of ash. That's up in Portland by the Jetport. So all of our loads that we can go up there. We have different trailers in our commercial lot that's in Old Orchard. So we have different trailers. One trailer's for demo because they don't take PVC pipes because they just kind of melt into this goop. Shingles, sheetrock, things that aren't combustible, Maine won't take. So if we have a little bit of that mixed with a load that they can take, we'll bomb back to the lot, dump that in our demo can per se, and then keep filling our eco load and bring it all up there. So then we really just put a little bit in the landfill dumps like Casella and some of those other ones that haul it to a landfill. So that's our big one. All of our metal is recycled. So we have a big 30-yard dumpster from a scrapyard. Same idea, between every load, we'll go put all of our metal over there. And we try to recycle.
Does someone buy the metal, or you?
Yeah, but I really get a horrible, well, I shouldn't say horrible, I'm grateful for it, but I don't get a good rate at all, because the rate also includes the fact that I get the dumpster essentially for free, and they come pick it up for free. So my rate goes from like here to like this. But for me, it saves time, and it's good for the environment. Everyone's happy. Metal's getting recycled. I'm not dealing with it, and we just put it in a metal container and go.
So I hadn't heard of this eco place in South Portland. Do a lot of dump companies utilize them?
Oh yeah, a lot of like the private haulers like us will use them, and then all of like Casella, the big trash trucks, use it. So yeah, you go in there, it's an indoor facility. You go in there and the little food garbage is coming out. It's pretty
Wild. And it's not bad for the environment. Like I think of incinerators like Merck in Biddeford. That's not what this is.
This is like a way more sophisticated Merc, I guess. One night I couldn't sleep and I was watching and it was online. There was a whole video about it and the amount of filtrations I guess that they have in there is just like state of the art, you know. So the air
it must be good enough. Like I've never even heard of it, or it's not like someplace I drive by and I'm like, oh, that's the the trash place or whatever. I always thought people brought their trash to a place off Riverside Street in Portland. Is there something out there?
yeah. So they'll take. I don't think they take household garbage, but they'll take like regular, couches and construction debris, brush,
items, stuff like that. Pivoting to Maine Dump Runners. Did you come up with the name?
No, my friend did. Yeah, when it was his idea. Yeah.
I love the logo, and I think
I made the logo.
Did you make the logo? Okay.
Yeah.
It's the truck. It's like what the truck with the trash can with the person like sticking half out of it. And for a while, you used to have like a trash can in the back of your truck with like a freaking mannequin legs sticking out of it. So I feel like your trucks are hard to miss on the road. How'd you come up with that logo? Just struck you?
I was on like a logo creating website because I'm not like a very tech savvy. And there was a can with a guy, there was a truck and everything. And I just kind of like started moving around and I'm like, that looks awesome. So we created the logo and then, it was probably like a few months later, I grabbed a trash can from a job and I threw it. It was metal. So we put all the metal on the bed of the truck until we recycle it. And I said, geez, we should throw a fake person in that thing, And so I made a fake person, which looked really weird. Yeah, stuck it in there and it came out.
For a while, I drive by and I would see you and it like sticks out really well. So now that you're 4 years in, is there anything you would have done differently? Like from the beginning, anything you learned, any challenges?
Not really. I'm grateful for where it's gone and how it's gone. So I wouldn't have changed anything quite yet. Everything's
I mean, I'm sure you're learning every day. Is there any advice that you would give to people that were starting a business in general, or not even like maybe like a junk removal business, but just any advice, any things that you've learned?
I would definitely say, as soon as you can, get a Google business page and start creating reviews because that helps. That helps tremendously. We're up to like 225-star reviews now, which is really cool for like a small business. Some of those larger companies, if you bought something recently, like as soon as you walk out of the store, you get this like, click here and give me a review. We don't have that, so I got to get better at asking. But yeah, becoming an LLC to protect yourself, that was a big one. Making sure we have to have a non-hazardous waste hauling license, making sure you're properly licensed, insured, kind of covering all those bases, which I spent a lot of time, kind of a nerd with that. So I spent a lot of time early getting all that stuff. And then, getting the Google business page is huge.
The 200 plus reviews is pretty solid. I'm sure some services people don't run online to search for them right away, but I feel like junk and trash removal, you have to have a good online presence because if I didn't know you and I had to get some junk removed, I'd probably go to Google and see what pops up. So having those reviews makes a big difference, I'm sure.
And it's 100%. The junk is like the first person to pick up the phone gets a job, So you got to pick up your phone. So
are you the one that's answering, or is that Christy?
Oh, that's me. And a lot of times it's like, put the couch down, hang on, hello, Yeah. It's always it's an ongoing joke. Like if we're doing a big cleanup, as soon as I put the work gloves on, the phone rings. Take it off.
It's part of being self-employed. What's your turn times now? Like, do you try to get to someone in the matter of days?
A couple days, yeah. Yeah, sometimes same day, if not the next day. For bigger jobs, 2 or 3 days. But I always tell people it's one of those things, it's feast or famine. So like if they have a specific like a house for sale and they have a date in mind, the sooner they get on the schedule, the better they get that time slot.
Absolutely. And what do you think the future of Maine Dump Runners is? Do you have any goals to grow or to do something different, or like you're happy with the way things are?
Yeah, my mind's always spinning. I'm like super grateful for where it's gone in the last 4 years. I toggle between, because there's a lot of roll-off companies out there, and if they drop the dumpster and they come back in a week or two, pick it up and stuff, and I see them, and it's a part of me because I'm competitive. I want to get involved in the roll-offs, but I also, where we offer the same price and we load it, and I don't know how that would go with my sales strategy. So I think right now I want to keep pushing the full-service junk removal. I'd love to get, within the next probably 5 years, 2 more of the trucks that like my wife drives as a cab over, has a body on it. Those are great for maneuvering in town and stuff. If we got eventually 2 more of those and had 3 crews buzzing around the local area, that would be my dream.
How hard is it to hire people? Like,
Yeah, right
is
now
that
we have a
challenge?
really, yeah, we have a really solid. He's a great employee. It's my wife and I, and one full timer, and then we have a college kid that works in the summer, and we just keep it small. But that is the hard part. I think part of it too is, uh, I don't know. Like I built this from nothing, and we're, I don't know how to say this, but like we have a great reputation and things like that, and so for me to like let go, I haven't let go yet. So that's probably my own fault. Eventually, I'm going to have to hire a driver and send him or her off with another employee and just set it free. But that's my own thing. I'm nervous to do it. So
Probably super common. Like, yeah, like you said, this is your baby. You started this like to to get to that point. Maybe it'll happen at some point in the next few years. But I get the hesitation, and that's just part of the journey of the business. I think 4 years done a pretty great job getting to where you are now. So I'm anxious to see where it goes from there. What's the best way for people to find you?
yeah, pretty much on everything. We have a Facebook page, Google, and then they could text that number, and I'll get back to them as soon as I can. Everything.
Is the website mainedumprunners.com?
MaineDumpRunners.com. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Listen, Luke, thank you for coming, talking about your business. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Likewise. Thank you so much for having me.